when you think of a planet, what comes to mind? Probably a big rock floating in space, right? Well, in Vedic astrology, also known as Jyotish, that's really just scratching the surface. Today, we're going to dive into how this ancient system sees planets not just as objects, but as living, breathing forces that are actively shaping our reality. It's a whole different way of looking at the cosmos. Okay, so take a look at this. This is a Surya yantra, which is a mystical diagram representing the sun. And it really captures a core idea in Vedic thought, that the cosmos is this incredible web of interconnected energies. And the planets? They're the key players in that web. We're talking about powerful forces that have a real, tangible influence on our lives, not just distant specks of light. And this idea is baked right into the language. The Sanskrit word for planet is graha, and its root literally means to grasp or to seize. Now think about that. That tells you everything you need to know, right? These aren't just passive objects floating out there. The ancient seers understood them as forces that have a real grip on us, on our lives, our minds, and even our karma.
But here's a really crucial distinction to make. According to Vedic scholar David Frawley, the planets themselves aren't the source of the power. It's better to think of them as, well, like giant cosmic relay stations. They're like huge antennas that pick up stellar energies from the wider universe and then transmit or beam those forces directly into our lives. So they're messengers, not the message itself.
So let's talk about their job description. In Jyotish, they're called cosmic signifiers. It's a fancy term, but it basically means they are the great forces that shape our reality. They're the messengers and the regulators of these huge universal forces that manifest both in the world around us and deep inside of us.
You could say that the entire science of Jyotish is really about learning the language of these planets. They signify certain energies, like this planet means this, that planet means that, and they rule how those energies actually play out in our lives. It's kind of like learning the grammar of the cosmos itself. All right, so who are these cosmic power players? Let's meet the cast of characters. In Vedic astrology, we work with 9 primary grahas, and I really want you to think of them as the main characters in the grand drama of your life, because each one has a very distinct personality and role to play. So here's the lineup. We have the 7 you might know: the Sun, Moon, Mars, Mercury, Jupiter, Venus, and Saturn. But Jyotish also includes 2 shadow planets, which are really interesting: Rahu and Ketu. Now, these 2 aren't physical bodies you can see with a telescope. They're actually mathematical points, the north and south nodes of the moon, where its orbit crosses the sun's path. But don't let their invisibility fool you. Their influence is absolutely massive.
And it's so important to remember that each of these grahas is seen as a living archetype, a divine personification of a certain energy. I mean, look at these incredible depictions of Surya, the sun god, and Chandra, the moon god. This is how they're seen, not as inanimate objects, but as powerful cosmic beings with their own purpose, their own story, that directly influences ours.
Okay, now, just like in any good story, these characters don't all get along. They don't all play for the same team. They're generally divided into 2 main groups, which really represent the fundamental universal dance between harmony and conflict. On one side, you have the benefics, or Shubha Grahas. These are the forces of growth, expansion, and preservation. Think Jupiter and Venus. They generally bring good things. On the other side, you have the malefics, or Papa Grahas. These guys represent decay, restriction, and destruction. We're talking about Saturn, Mars, the Sun. I like to think of them as the builders versus the demolition crew of the cosmos. But hold on, it's super important not to get stuck on thinking of this as good versus evil. It's not that simple. Both of these forces are absolutely necessary for life to exist. I mean, you can't have growth without some form of decay. You can't have creation without destruction. For one big tree to grow strong, a lot of smaller plants have to die in its shadow, right? The challenges that the so-called malefics bring are often the very things that force us to grow and become stronger. Now, another key concept is that a planet's influence isn't always set to the same volume. You can think of it like a dimmer switch or a volume knob. Its power to act, its ability to deliver its results in your life, can be turned way up or turned way down, all depending on where it was in the zodiac at the moment you were born. So let's break down a planet's condition. There are 3 main states to know. First, you've got exaltation. This is when a planet is at its absolute peak, its strongest possible placement. It's blasting its energy at full intensity. Then there's its own sign. This is when a planet is in its home constellation, it's comfortable, stable, and acts in a really favorable way. And finally, you have debilitation. This is the opposite of exaltation. The planet is at its weakest and its energy is expressed very feebly, almost like it's struggling to even be heard. And just look at the difference in potential strength. It's not a small thing, it's huge. An exalted planet is operating at, say, 100%. One in its own sign is still pretty strong, maybe 75%. But a debilitated planet, it might be down at 10%. This single factor can be an absolute game changer when you're looking at a birth chart. But, and this is a big but, strong does not always equal good for you. A strong benefic planet like Jupiter, yeah, that can bring incredible wisdom, fortune, and luck. Awesome. But what about a strong malefic planet like Saturn? Well, an exalted Saturn can bring exalted problems. We're talking intense, powerful, life-defining challenges. So strength just amplifies a planet's inherent nature, for better or for worse. Okay, so we've talked about the planets as these grand cosmic forces out there in the solar system. But what if I told you they're also inside you? This is where we get into one of the most profound concepts in Vedic astrology, the Kalapurusha, or the cosmic person. As the great writer Robert Svoboda puts it, the solar system itself can be seen as the personification of a divine being, the cosmic person of time. It's this beautiful, powerful metaphor. The idea is that the entire solar system is one giant being, and each one of us is a perfect miniature reflection of that being. So every planet out there corresponds to a specific part of ourselves, right here within us.
And this is how it breaks down. The sun, that's your very soul, your Atma. The moon represents your mind, your senses, your emotions. Mars is your strength, your power, your drive. Mercury is your rational mind and how you speak. Jupiter is knowledge and fortune. Venus governs your desires and yearnings. And Saturn? Saturn corresponds to our sorrows and misfortunes. Every facet of the human experience is covered.
So, how does an astrologer actually use this? Well, they look at your birth chart to see the state of each of these planets within you. Let's take Mercury, for example, which rules the rational mind. If Mercury is exalted in your chart, chances are you're a brilliant, sharp, and clear communicator. But if it's debilitated, you might really struggle to get your ideas across or feel like your thoughts are scattered. The condition of each planet in your chart tells a crucial part of your personal story.
Ultimately, the planets are said to map out our karma. Your birth chart is like a cosmic blueprint, a snapshot of these forces at the moment you were born. It shows your potential, your challenges, the whole shebang. It's a map of you. So the real question to leave you with is, what story is your map telling?